Hi, this is Mike Hendrickson at OSCON 2014 in Portland, Oregon. I'm here with Brian Bulkowski from Aerospike. Brian, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
You're doing great. So, Aerospike, I'm not sure everyone at OSCON knows what Aerospike is and means. So what do you guys do?
We are a super fast NoSQL database. We founded the company in 2008, just when NoSQL was getting started. And our goal was to bring scalability and very high performance and reliability to the database market. We saw that there was a need for people in that operational front edge tier to not have to worry so much about how to scale out caching layers, storage layers. We wanted to make all of that much, much, much simpler.
And so how do you do that?
So we've done that through the decades of experience that the engineers on our staff and myself and my co-founder bring. So we have a lot of old relational technology guys. We have some guys from IBM, some guys from Sybase, as well as people like me who are into networking and distributed systems. We focused on rewriting some of the core distributed systems algorithms and using a couple of key technical insights. For example, we found that having a master in a transaction is the only way that leads to ACID transactions and no data loss, provably so. So on a row-by-row basis, we have masters, but we need to be a shared nothing system. As a shared nothing system, you don't have a master. It sounds like a contradiction.
Yeah.
We solved that in our distribution system by having a series of masters and being able to switch masters for individual rows on the fly within milliseconds. So we applied some key and interesting distributed systems approaches to some very old school database ideas of multi-threading, using storage efficiently, using C as a programming language. All of that is added up one after another to some pretty incredible performance numbers while maintaining very high levels of scale.
And so you also, if I'm correct, you work in Flash, not cache, so Flash is better or different?
Absolutely. So we're an in-memory database. And we knew founding the company, I was standing around with my co-founder and he said, let's build a new database company. And I said, you're nuts, right? I mean, a new database company? And he said, but what about Flash? What about Flash and what about multi-core and cloud? That's going to change everything. The fundamental data structures that computer scientists have used for nearly, 30, 40 years are based on rotational disk and rotational storage. And that gives you a certain set of trade-offs. Mm-hmm. So we said, you know what? We're going to need to rewrite how indexes are built and how storage is used in order to efficiently be the best in-memory database. So we're going to need to be able to support in-memory RAM, but also treat in-memory flash differently than simply a storage layer and use a lot of the old systems of indexing. So those two things put together make us the best choice as an in-memory database. For some of your hotter data, you can use just RAM. For some of your slightly cooler data, where you only need hundreds of thousands of transactions per second, Flash is a wonderful choice. Our bet on Flash 4 years ago, we're really happy with it. It's played out quite nicely. The Flash market has improved year after year. We've gotten doublings and quadruplings in density and speed increases and performance drops. And I work very closely with all the manufacturers. We're not tied to one manufacturer. We're just a software company. But we've looked at the fundamental nature of Flash and Flash storage and chips and lithography and worked closely with designers at Intel and Samsung, many of these at Micron, many companies, that allow us to use the correct I/O patterns for both today's storage and Flash of the future. All of this adds up to being able to drive Flash to in-memory RAM-style speeds.
Right, and also doesn't it give like the CIO an option from not building a server farm, but building up?
Absolutely.
So you can do more with less.
One of the great things about Aerospike is the ability to both scale up and scale out. What we find is that some CIOs or some operations people will choose to build larger servers. On the other hand, they always want an out, where they can say, well, in the next rev, when I need that next 2x, am I going to take my old template and double it? Or am I going to take the next generation of hardware and make it twice as fast? Our large-scale deployments, I find people are choosing on each side of the fence. Some folks will say for a while, hey, I'm going to double my cluster, double my cluster, double my cluster. And then they look at their cluster and they say, you know what, it's time for a new hardware generation. It's time to switch up the CPU. It's time to go to a faster flash layer. It's time to use, one of these new high-performance DIMM type systems. And so let's roll out something entirely new at that layer. And we also give the capability in Aerospike of being able to do those migrations seamlessly. So you can set up your next generation cluster, keep them in sync for a while, decommission the old one without the thing missing a beat. So most of our customers have had no maintenance downtime in any of their clusters in any time. We're very proud of that.
So your customers, what is the typical customer, or who is the prototype customer for something that's as fast and quick? Is it the advertising world? Is it making quick decisions on websites that are retailers? Who is it?
So we found initially that the best people who really needed this technology were in advertising technology, because there was a switch about 2009, 2010 from using client-side cookies for user data storage to track, I don't want to see that ad too much, don't track me, all that kind of stuff. That was all stored in client-side cookies. Then these companies realized in the multi-device world, they want to honor your preferences no matter where you are, because they want to serve the best ad and not the ad you've seen before or an ad that's inappropriate. So they all moved to server-side databases to do user profile stores. That was, we found, the first case where Aerospike was solving a problem that nobody else would solve. And so within the advertising industry, people who are doing advertising optimization, keeping a few billion user profiles, terabytes of storage, Aerospike is the database of choice within that market. That's allowed us to really harden the product. And that was back when we were closed source, and we found those guys really needed us. So we established ourselves in that vertical. We have great reference customers at the highest levels of scale. What we did just in the last few months was to open source the product. So I want more people to use Aerospike, and they're going to use it for all kinds of things that I don't know yet. I've had great discussions here at OSCON with a number of innovators, people doing new search engines, new security tools, trying to blend social information with, let's say, security. All kinds of different uses, marketing, not just advertising, but trying to drive user understanding with one-on-one marketing. All of those uses are now getting up to the level of scale where you can't use MySQL anymore. Even sharded MySQL is really looking kind of awful to try to maintain, and you'd really like to use something with this level of performance.
So where do you see this going? Let's say we have this conversation next year at this time. Where would you like Aerospike to be in this market, and where do you think the market is going to be? Are they going to catch up, or are they going to...
Well, a year in some sense is a short period of time in this market.
It is.
But Aerospike, I think you mentioned it at the beginning of our discussion here, Aerospike is not well known yet. And so the technology that we've had as a closed source product, satisfying some very high levels of scale, I want that technology a year from now to be well known and well used. I want as many people as possible to go out and use Aerospike, find some great innovative uses. It's now, there's no limits on the amount of size, number of nodes in your cluster, anything like that. You can go in and see the code and see how it's used. So our goal for the next year is really about adoption, about driving more clients. We're very excited about our Go client that's now in alpha and will be in beta in a few weeks. We're working with Nginx because we know that that's the fastest web server. We're the fastest database, match made in heaven. We're also finding, it surprised me a bit, that PHP, there's a lot of PHP people who went out there and built an agile system, satisfied a need, and now they're blowing up. I mean, everyone's coming to their site. And now, gee, what do I need? I need a really fast database. So even as someone is rebuilding, say, a PHP site into a faster language like Java, they're still finding, hey, I need to upgrade my data layer. So we're really building out, as we see need, lots of different clients, lots of different connectors to try to bring Aerospike to as many folks as possible. So in a year, I want Aerospike to be one of the premier NoSQL databases, not just in the niche where we've made our name so far, but in a lot wider use cases.
And open source will help with that.
We know it will.
Yes. Excellent, Brian. Thank you. Look forward to next year.
Thank you.